We are jumping right into breaking news, drugs, a gun, a search of a home, and that could be just the beginning of troubles for one of the guys from Pawn Stars.
They said he'd be locked up forever. The headlines screamed his name, the internet buzzed with rumors, and fans were left wondering, how did it come to this? But here's the thing about Chumlee. He's always been full of surprises.
10,000. It's $10,000. It's 10,000 bucks. 10,000. I don't need this. You guys can have that shirt. I don't need to work anymore. I'm rich. I'm going on vacation.
From the goofy underdog of Pawn Stars to a man grappling with fame, fortune, and some very real mistakes, his story isn't what you think it is. In fact, what happens next might just change how you see him forever. Ready to find out the truth? Let's dive in. Chumlee's humble beginning. Since 2009, Pawn Stars has been one of the History Channel's crown jewels, pulling millions of viewers into the fascinating world of pawn shop drama. Sure, there's plenty to love about the dynamic trio of Rick, Cory, and the late old man Harrison. Their family feuds and fiery debates about running the shop keep the show grounded. But let's face it, the show wouldn't be the same without Austin Russell, better known as Chumlee. Chumlee is the wild card, the jester, the guy who keeps things unpredictable. He's been lovingly called the village idiot of Pawn Stars. But turns out that label became his golden ticket. Somehow, Chumlee's goofy charm, off-the-wall commentary, and knack for stumbling into hilarity turned him into an unexpected fan favorite. And while his antics might seem like pure entertainment, his story runs much deeper. So, who is the real Chumlee? Well, Chumlee's rise feels almost mythical, the underdog who fumbled his way to fortune alongside his best friend Cory Harrison. It's the kind of tale we all root for, the lovable screw-up who somehow lands on top. But there's another side to his story. Beneath the laughs and the larger-than-life persona lies a narrative of grit, ambition, and yes, chaos. Austin Russell's story begins in Henderson, Nevada, a modest suburb of Las Vegas. Growing up, his life was far from glamorous. His mother was largely absent, leaving his father, a carpenter, to raise him and his siblings on his own. Life wasn't easy, and Austin had to learn to navigate the world with humor and resourcefulness. He wasn't always the Chumlee we know today. Back then, he was just a chubby kid trying to make sense of a complicated world. His upbringing was rough, and while his quick wit and charm set him apart, there were already signs of the struggles he'd face later in life. It's almost as if the seeds of his eventual rise and fall were being planted in those early years. So how did it all happen? How did he go from an unknown kid to one of the most talked about figures in reality television? Austin Russell's journey is rooted in a childhood marked by survival and resilience. His father, a recovering alcoholic, carried the weight of raising the family on his own while battling his own demons. He worked hard, took pride in being the president of the local AA chapter, and taught his kids the value of respect, hard work, and self-reliance. But even with those lessons, life at home wasn't easy. Money was tight, and their meals often came from government assistance. Austin grew up on a diet of cheap, unhealthy food, pizza, butter, and more butter. It wasn't exactly the recipe for a balanced lifestyle and would leave him struggling with weight issues for much of his life. On top of that, Austin often had to skip school to help his dad with carpentry jobs. These were far from the carefree days of a typical childhood, but somehow, even amidst the struggle, Austin managed to stand out. Chumlee wasn't your average kid on the block. He and his sister were the neighborhood punks, marching to the beat of their own drum. He expressed himself in ways that nobody could ignore, like shaving the crown of his head like a monk and spiking the rest with wild, vibrant colors. It was outrageous, it was bold, and it was pure Chumlee. His infamous nickname came from one of those neighborhood moments that stick with you forever. A friend's dad, noticing Austin's quirky demeanor and round features, joked that he looked like a cartoon walrus from the show Tennessee Tuxedo. That walrus's name? Chumlee. For most kids, that might have been a devastating blow to their ego, but Austin, he embraced it. Standing out wasn't always easy, though. Chumlee had a knack for getting into trouble, and his short temper often landed him in schoolyard fights. He had no problem throwing fists when he felt it was necessary, a habit that followed him into adulthood. One of those fights, however, would change the course of his life forever. The story goes like this. Chumlee's sister was being bullied. Furious, he stormed off to the local park, determined to set things straight. He found the kid, confronted him, and let his fists do the talking. After that, the two were officially enemies. But life has a funny way of flipping the script. Not long after, Chumlee saw that same bully getting jumped by another group of kids. At first, he stood back, maybe even enjoying the karmic spectacle. But as the beating escalated, something shifted. He couldn't just watch anymore. The kid was getting seriously hurt. And in a twist no one saw coming, it was Chumlee, the same guy who had just fought this kid, who stepped in to break up the fight. That moment didn't just end a brawl, it sparked an unlikely friendship. Because that kid, it was none other than Cory Harrison. The two clicked immediately, bonded by their shared mischievous streak. Together they were a pair of troublemakers who people often underestimated. But beneath the rough edges, they were sharper than most gave them credit for. That didn't mean they avoided trouble, though. In fact, Cory's parents weren't exactly thrilled about him hanging out with someone like Chumlee, who they saw as little more than a punk. For a while, the duo leaned into their rebellious reputation. Flash forward a bit, and Chumlee and Cory found themselves in Reno, training to become electricians. It seemed like a solid plan for two guys trying to figure life out. But in reality, Chumlee was stuck in what could only be described as the fast food triple crown, bouncing between jobs at McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. The two eventually got an apartment together, and at first it was everything you'd expect from a bachelor pad: carefree fun, late nights, and plenty of laughs. But as time passed, things took a much darker turn, and the reason was illicit substances. Yep, both Chumlee and Cory fell into addiction, and their lives began spiraling out of control. The fun was gone, replaced by chaos and consequences. Cory ended up in jail, and Chumlee found himself hitting rock bottom. But hitting rock bottom was only the beginning of Chumlee's story. What came next was more than just a fight for survival. It was the start of an improbable journey that would take him from flipping burgers to becoming a household name. From rock bottom to reality TV stardom. Somehow, against all odds, Chumlee managed to claw his way back. He got clean, thank goodness, and started piecing his life together. He was working at McDonald's, trying to stay on the straight and narrow. But no matter how hard he worked, he just couldn't seem to catch a break. Then a lifeline came from the unlikeliest source: Cory's dad, Rick Harrison. Yes, the same Rick Harrison who once tried to keep his son far away from Chumlee. Rick was looking for someone dependable, someone hard-working. Despite everything, he saw something in Chumlee that others didn't. At 21, Chumlee got his shot. Rick offered him a part-time job at the gold and silver pawn shop. Then came a twist that would change everything. A production company approached Rick with an idea. What if the shop became the setting for a reality TV show? It seemed like a gamble, but Rick, Cory, and Rick's dad, the old man, were all in. The question was, who else would be on the show? The shop was bustling with employees, but not everyone was ready for prime time. So when the producers suggested Chumlee, everyone was stunned. But the producers saw something others didn't. They saw the perfect wild card, a lovable goofball who was always one step away from disaster. And just like that, Chumlee was thrust into the spotlight. His life was about to change forever. What happened next? Well, Pawn Stars became an absolute juggernaut. The show exploded in popularity, broadcasting in 150 countries and being translated into 38 languages. But it didn't stop there. Spin-offs like American Restoration and Counting Cars followed, along with international versions like Pawn Stars UK, Pawn Stars South Africa, and even Pawn Stars Australia. There was Pawnography, a game show, and, believe it or not, a Pawn Stars prepaid debit card. Yes, a debit card. It was a Pawn Stars overload, and right in the middle of it all was Chumlee. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just the funny screw-up or the kid with bad luck. He was part of something massive. Scratch that. He wasn't just part of it. He was a fan favorite. The guy who made millions laugh, who brought unpredictable energy to the shop, and who showed the world that sometimes the underdog steals the show. Yet behind the laughter and the newfound fame, Chumlee's success carried a deep personal tragedy. Just before the show aired, his father passed away. After 25 years of sobriety, the damage from years of drinking had finally caught up with him. His father never got to see Chumlee's rise to stardom, never saw the son who'd finally made something of himself. That bittersweet loss left a mark. It was a weight Chumlee carried even as his life transformed into something unrecognizable. Fame and fortune came fast, and with it, Chumlee stepped into a lifestyle he'd only ever dreamed of. He moved into the Las Vegas Country Club, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in town, and the spending began. Sneakers were his first obsession. Chumlee bought more than 200 pairs of high-end kicks because why not? Then came the cars, luxury rides like a Rolls-Royce Phantom, a Maserati, and a Range Rover. Even his dog lived the high life with a Louis Vuitton collar. But it wasn't all indulgence. Chumlee used his wealth to make meaningful changes to his lifestyle. He hired a personal assistant to stock his fridge with healthy groceries and, naturally, to camp out in line for even more sneakers. He cleaned up his act, lost 75 pounds, and stayed off drugs. To the outside world, it seemed like a whole new Chumlee had emerged, a guy who was finally in control. Or was he? Beneath the surface, there was always the question, had Chumlee really changed, or was it just the same old Chumlee with a fatter wallet and a flashier life? Because with all the money, all the fame, came new temptations, new problems, and new opportunities to spiral out of control. This wasn't just the next phase of Chumlee's life, it was the most dangerous one yet. The downfall. Here's a video. A group of men beating another man senseless, and among them is none other than Chumlee. When questioned about the incident, Chumlee claimed the attack was an act of self-defense. According to him, the man had been harassing his group and even threatened to pull a gun. His explanation? Instinct just took over, he said. He just wanted to ride in our car and start problems. But was Chumlee telling the truth? Who were these guys, and what was this darker, more aggressive side of the TV personality fans thought they knew? Chumlee's fame, particularly in Las Vegas, a city that thrives on notoriety, had given him access to a lifestyle most could only imagine. Women, drugs, influence. Chumlee had it all, and he wasn't shy about embracing his newfound power. First came the women. Chumlee began dating a woman named Tanya, showering her with extravagant gifts to show off his wealth. For her birthday, he went all out, paying for cosmetic surgery, a breast augmentation. Lavish? Sure. Romantic? Questionable. But what else was he doing with this money? Behind the scenes, there were whispers of activities far removed from the harmless goofball fans adored on Pawn Stars. Then came the moment that would bring it all crashing down. In 2016, Chumlee's house was raided by police. The official story was that they were investigating a sexual assault allegation, a serious accusation that alone would have rocked his reputation. But what they found during the raid was something entirely different. Guns, drugs, and not just a little bit, a significant stash that hinted at the lifestyle Chumlee had been living behind closed doors. There's a bit of relief in Chumlee's story. Nothing came out of the sexual assault charges that originally prompted the raid. But the guns and drugs, those were very real and they were very bad. With the help of some pricey lawyers, Chumlee narrowly avoided jail time. Instead, he was sentenced to 3 years of probation and mandatory counseling. It was a close call, but it came with a daunting question. Could he hold on to this second chance, or would he slip back into the dark spiral of drugs, depression, and despair? The years that followed were a struggle, not just for Chumlee, but for everyone in the Pawn Stars universe. When news of his arrest broke, fans wondered if Chumlee's time on the show was over. After all, plenty of popular shows have been canceled because of behind-the-scenes controversies. Just look at Kid Nation, a bizarre show in 2007 that sent 40 kids into the desert to build their own society. Injuries, chaos, and one kid drinking bleach shut that production down fast. So would Pawn Stars face a similar fate? The answer lay not in the controversy itself, but in the people surrounding Chumlee. While legal troubles can isolate someone, Chumlee had one crucial advantage: the loyalty of his friends and coworkers. When the news hit, Cory Harrison publicly said, "We don't have details yet, but we're here to help Chumlee however we can." That support wasn't just words, it was a lifeline, and it likely played a huge role in keeping Chumlee tethered to his better instincts. But even with this support, life didn't magically get easier. Those years weren't just tough for Chumlee, they were rough on everyone connected to Pawn Stars. Tragedy and challenges loomed large over the show's tight-knit circle, testing their resilience and ability to keep moving forward. Cory Harrison's house was broken into, of all things, through the doggy door. Crooks managed to bypass the security system and make off with whatever they could grab. Not long after, the Pawn Stars universe faced an even greater loss: the passing of the patriarch, Old Man Harrison, at the age of 77. It was a devastating blow for everyone, especially Chumlee. And as grief settled over the group, Chumlee began to spiral once again. Things seemed to be looking up briefly when he started dating a new girlfriend, Olivia. But Vegas has its own way of complicating lives, and before long, Olivia left him for a poker player. Another hit. So, Chumlee fell back on what he knows best: hustling. He dove headfirst into money-making schemes, becoming obsessed with anything that could turn a quick profit. And boy, did he find his groove. Let's take a look at just some of his ventures. He launched his own brand of beef jerky, Chumlee's Awesome Jerky. He opened a candy shop in Vegas, fittingly called Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, and then there's his steady work on Cameo, where fans can pay him to send personalized video messages. These side hustles reveal a surprisingly complex character. Chumlee is proof of the old adage that every man contains multitudes. In his case, those multitudes come with a hefty dose of ambition, creativity, and, well, a flair for the ridiculous. His mindset: anything to make a buck. And with his deep pockets and knack for thinking outside the box, the schemes keep coming. In some ways, Chumlee's life now resembles a child's idea of what it means to be a cool, successful adult. He's got the cars, the businesses, and the charisma to back it up. It's the kind of life he always wanted his dad to see. And if the cost of achieving that dream is occasionally making a fool of himself on national TV, it seems like a price he's willing to pay. But what does this life mean to the adult Chumlee? Where is he going, and what does his future hold? Pawn Stars is still very much on the air, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The show recently branched out with Pawn Stars Do America, where the crew hits the road in search of valuable finds. But while the show thrives, not everything is picture perfect in the Pawn Stars universe. Recently, the Pawn Stars family has been struck by an unimaginable tragedy. Adam Harrison, Rick's second son, passed away from a drug overdose at the age of 39. Adam wasn't a regular face on the show. He was a plumber by trade, but he occasionally worked at the shop. His death has left his family grieving and demanding answers, grappling with a loss that feels all too familiar to countless others across the country. The tragedy of Adam's death underscores a harsh reality. Every day, more than 30 people in the U.S. lose their lives to opioids. It's a sobering reminder that addiction doesn't discriminate and no one is entirely safe. If there's one takeaway here, let it be this: please don't mess with serious drugs. And what about Chumlee? On camera, he still appears to be the same lovable goofball fans adore. But more importantly, he seems to be keeping his life on track. He successfully completed his parole without any violations and has managed to stay clear of the kinds of headlines that once plagued him. Well, except for announcing his new beef jerky venture, that's the kind of headline he doesn't mind making. What's remarkable about Chumlee is his sheer hustle. The guy just gets business. From candy shops to jerky, he knows how to turn an opportunity into a profit. And while his journey has been anything but smooth, he's proven that resilience and adaptability can go a long way. Chumlee's reinvention goes beyond business, it's deeply impactful. As a supporter of the American Heart Association, he's used his platform to raise awareness and funds for heart disease research, showing that his influence extends far beyond reality TV. Even after the low point of his legal troubles, Chumlee has emerged stronger, more focused, and determined to leave a positive legacy. Through it all, he's shown a willingness to accept responsibility for his mistakes and make the necessary changes to ensure he doesn't repeat them. For fans of Pawn Stars, the full extent of his legal battles may always remain a mystery, but what's clear is this: Chumlee has moved forward, delivering the humor, charm, and entertainment that millions of people continue to love. Sure, Chumlee could spiral back into a life of crime, blow his fortune on drugs, women, and guns, and become another cautionary tale of show business gone wrong. But then again, he could also take everything he's built, leverage his assets, keep his head down, and climb his way to becoming a billionaire. Honestly, it's anyone's guess which path he'll choose. Behind the goofy jokes, the wild mistakes, and that seemingly harmless exterior, Austin Russell isn't just some lovable sidekick. He's a man with influence, resources, and ambition. A powerful man. Whether he uses that power for good or lets it take him back down a darker road, only time will tell. There's no expert to call, no crystal ball to consult for the answer. All we can do is watch, wait, and see how Chumlee's story unfolds. That's enough from us. It's time to hear from you. Get down in the comments and tell us who your favorite Pawn Star is. Are you Team Chumlee? Do you think Pawn Stars is the greatest reality show of all time? And seriously, has anyone out there been to the gold and silver pawn shop? Or maybe even Chumlee's candy store? We want to hear your stories about Chumlee. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.